Could it be Carlton's year in 2024 where they go on and win their next premiership? But we're going to focus on Carlton in the deep dive today. This is their history, 2,062 games. Plenty of wins, plenty of losses as well, but 25 grand finals, 16 premierships. And look at the two South Australians, Kane. Craig Bradley, 375 games, record holder, and Sticks Kernahan. What a captain he was, took over at such a young age. So we've all got different opinions on who are the greatest Carlton player, who is the greatest Carlton player of all time. I'm going to go through 7 of them. There's Jezza. What a player he was for Carlton and a great coach. Here's Bruce Doull, the flying doormat. So
people still revere that man.
Revere that man. So a wonderful player. They've had some sensational fullbacks, Carlton, over their time. And the next is Silvani. So from Doull till Silvani. And Sauce also kicked a bag of 10 in his AFL career as well. Wonderful
player.
Kicked
200 goals.
10 goals. The next one is John Nichols. So he changed the game, John Nichols, with the way he played the game and his handball and his ruck craft. As a ruckman, wouldn't play ruck these days, but he was a superstar.
Oh, Greg.
Yeah, Brownie's getting excited. Brownie was a Carlton man as a kid, and Greg Williams.
Look at that, on the left.
Smarter than any other player that's played the game, and he'll tell you so as well.
Yeah.
Greg, Sticks Kernahan,
Yes.
yeah, a genius, wasn't he?
Yeah.
What a leader.
Big game player.
Singer.
Dominated in all the grand finals that he played, Sticks Kernahan, and even given so much back to the club since he finished playing.
He kicked the bag in the losing 93 grand final too, didn't
He did, and then here's Juddy, so he had a wonderful career at West Coast and then was brilliant for the Carlton Football Club as well. So what a goal this is. So that explosive speed, it's hard to remember too many players who have had what Judd has had. So I want to go around the panel and say who is the greatest Carlton player that has ever played.
Well, I find it very hard to go past Big Nick. 328 games, 3 premierships, captained the club, coached the club, was an innovator, I think, in the 73 grand final when he put Percy in as first ruck at his own expense, and just continues to support the club to the hilt. I know they got their Hall of Fame night tomorrow night, and presumably Big Nick will be there, and he's just got that amazing presence about him still. So I'd say Big Nick.
Diesel for me, Lordo. Yeah. Love Diesel.
I'm going to go with Sticks. He played in the 1985 Sanford Grand Final, which my dad coached for Glenelg. He won the Jack Odie medal, kick 7, and I fell in love with him from that moment. Played a lot of Sanford footy and then came across, and just the leader that he was and the aura that he had, that's why I vote for him.
Look, I want to add one name to the list you've already done. An incredible player, Wayne Johnston. I think there's been no bigger big game player than him. He won 4 premierships, 79, 81, 82, 87, and 2 best and fairests in that period, TJ. Look, he probably doesn't quite stack up with those 7 names you mentioned, but in terms of impact for that 10 years in that time frame, as good as anyone.
Likewise, Cooter as well.
Met him last week.
Yeah.
OK, let's go through some of their great grand finals. In 1970 is the most famous one. Obviously, 44 points down. We know the story. They started the handball after half-time. Teddy Hopkins comes on, been on the bench, kicks 4 goals, and they come from nowhere. One of the great marks of all time was also taken in this game, according to 99% of people other than Kane. This was one of the great games for Carlton.
Overrated, he said.
44 points down, and they won this one. So. And then we moved to 1987. This was a hot date. This was about 33 degrees.
Michael Tucker was short sleeves.
On this day. Jason Dunstall was ruled out just before the game with a suspected ankle injury. Most thought he could have played, but David Rees-Jones goes on to win. And there's the dominator right there. Sticks from 70.
A wobbler.
David Rees-Jones won the Norm Smith medal that day. There's Robert Walls, the coach. And the most recent one they had is 1995, and that man Diesel was brilliant. Kicked 5, and they smashed him, 61 points. It was against Gary Ablett. Stephen Silvani played on Ablett that day. Brad Pearce kicked 5 goals. You might remember back to Brad Pearce. He came down from the Brisbane Lions, but what a great club.
And then the lean years kicked in, Brownie. They made the grand final against North in 99, lost it.
Paper
finals.
Stop, Damo.
Well, they kept going for a little bit, but then this happened and it just fell off the perch, Kane. And just looking at some famous names, I mean, I have Pagan and Malthouse amongst those coaches. Now, another famous name, Michael Voss, trying to get them out of the doldrums. But it's been a long, barren stretch.
Days, but Vossi's record's stacking up. And he's been impressive to me. Like last year, the challenges that he faced, the leadership that he has shown across the board. OK, enough of sacking coaches. Let's back this guy in and let's give him some security, which they've done. And hopefully, it leads to that grand final success.
TJ, can I ask you, were you at any of those, all of those presses, and what was the most brutal, you think, from those Carlton sackings?
The Robert Walls one was brutal because that was a really dull, misty day at Princes Park against the Brisbane Bears, and Warwick Kappa kicked a goal after the siren, I think, and Robert Walls was given the heave-ho the next day. That was brutal. That was brutal. The other most brutal day was Mick Malthouse's first day when he didn't take too kindly to myself or Mark Robinson. That was day one. But anyway, Mick was very happy to leave Princes Park, I can tell you.
Kane, the greatest goals and marks.
Yep, let's have a look at some of those, Lord. I will start with my man Jezza. Because there's no more famous mark than this. I don't think it's the best mark. I'll stand by that. But in the context of...
You said it was overrated,
Yeah, I think the mark itself is overrated. We see one of those. Take us through that, Brown. Is he one of your favourites?
Yeah, one of the. They called him the Buzz, and this is the same year. This is mark and goal the year in the 1 year. Have a look at that.
I think Jack Dyer called him a good ordinary player.
We've mentioned Sauce. Look at this hang time. Look at the hang time there for Simon. He could do it all. He could defend. He could intercept.
What about this goal?
This is great. I was here that day.
What a star. I mean, look at the amount of All-Australians that this man has got. Speed, endurance. Back in the day where you ran your opponent into the ground. That's a check side from 48 metres out, if you don't mind.
On the run.
Played cricket in the summer too. And then played cricket
Played
in the
for
summer.
two states.
Yeah.
Played for South Australia and Victoria.
I think he played on the one day.
He did, and he played a night game of footy.
That's right.
That's a great mark from Sam Walsh. I love when Mark of the Year recognised for the courageous ones as well. Hopefully get him back on the park soon, Sam Walsh.
If Eddie Maguire's watching, he'll be falling off his recliner. But I don't think there's a club that has as celebrated history of players like the Carlton Football Club, because you go through generations, right? And they're players from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and their time will come again. I don't think there's a better crop of players at any other club in its history.
Which club has the most Australian Football Hall of Famers? From them, it'd be something you could look at, but the Blues would be heavily represented.
And they've got a few now too.
Yeah,
with Curnow and Cripps.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So if I love doing stories like in the David Parkin era at Carlton, and those guys that he had at his disposal that drove him mad because of their after-hour activities.
And then the arrogance that was attached to the success too. It was compelling even for an outsider, wasn't it?
Well, that was just
everyone
John
aspired
Elliott.
to.
That was John Elliott.
It was, but a lot of people embraced it, and
Yeah.
I think every supporter in some way was jealous of what they were experiencing and then celebrating the way they did it.
Remember the media awards, we have the best media communications at a club, best club. I remember John Elliott told his media manager, Ian Coots, that if you ever win that award, you'll be sacked.
Who's the best now, TJ?
In media?
Yep.
Geez, they're all pretty good now.
Who's the worst?
The worst? I don't think there is a worst.
Yes.
No, all the clubs are really good. Kane, don't try and get me
I
into
just don't
trouble.
like people that sit on the fence. Disappointing.
Hey, it's great the Carlton juggernaut is back, TJ. They're back now and the crowd's back and it's better for them.
Thanks, Tom
Game's
Cruise.
better for it.
All right, terrific stuff. Adelaide Crows.
Looks like Tom Cruise
All right,
today.
we'll take a break. You look very sharp.
Doesn't he
As
look
Lisa
like that,
texted
Lisa said she liked the way he looked last week.
Yeah, I
didn't she?
did get some compliments.
Okay.